A lantern clicks low. Floorboards sigh. Outside, a windmill taps the moon like a metronome. You lie in a narrow bed stuffed with ticking straw, in a boarding house on the edge of a cattle town. The year 1879. It looks peaceful enough to drift, but the quiet is only surface calm. Dust sifts through a slat in the window. Somewhere a horse stamps, bored and awake. You've arrived with nothing but borrowed boots and a thin blanket that smells of lye. This is a southern plain stopover on the great cattle trails, late 1870s into the 1880s. Between seasons, between storms, always between certainties. On the washstand, a dented tin cup, a sliver of soap, and a pitcher wearing a skin of dust. Water precious enough to guard. Downstairs, the keeper turns the key twice. On the street, a nailed board reads, "No firearms in town." You note it and exhale, muscles unclenching out of habit more than faith. You are safe, until you are not. Your heart will not settle. The bed scratches. The windmill counts out seconds you suddenly care about. Maybe your body already knows what your mind refuses, that tomorrow is not a postcard of freedom, but a ledger of scarcity, because out here, survival is not loud. It's measured, by gallons, by rules, by the angle of a blade in the wind. The room is quiet, and it won't let you sleep. Dawn is coming. Before you survive the first hour, you must find water. The sky opens like a pale lid. Frost lifts from the grass in little breaths as the windmill begins to tick. Tick, tick. Your first task is not coffee, it's water. Out here, thirst keeps the ledger. Dust, blue light washes the southern high plains. Creeks here are suggestions, not promises, and alkali crust rims the flats like spilled flour. People move by water, not by miles. Settlers, drovers, and indigenous families all reading the land like a calendar of damp and dry. Miss a date, and the season closes on you. Thomas meets you at the tower. A Mexican vaquero hired for spring gathering, hat brim stitched, boots scarred. The blades chatter. As he sets the tail to the wind, the pump coughs up a rope of cloudy water that smells faintly of eggs. He lets it run until it clears, then tips your tin cup. Small sips. He says, and not too quickly. You drink the way he tells you, like a student in church. His map is not on paper. It is a necklace of tanks. Seeps and windmills he could finger in the dark, miss one bade and the string breaks. He points at a shimmering band on the horizon. Not a pond, he says. Just the sky on the ground. Mirage, not relief. Your modern brain reaches for faucets, ice. Canteens measured in ounces. That reflex is precisely what would get you hurt, because the West bills you in quarts and penalties. Heat discipline is not bravado, it's budgeting. You cap the cup. The windmill slows to a steady catechism. Hydrated. For now. Your stomach interrupts with a low complaint. Out here, calories are logistics with grease on them. The first fry, bread scent hits like memory. Hot fat, flour, a lick of wood smoke curling under canvas. Breakfast is heavy, because work will be heavier. Canvas snaps on a breeze. We're at an open, range camp, mid-morning, where a wagon waits like a compact kitchen pulled by mules. Drawers fit into its ribs. A rack of Dutch ovens sits black as river stones. Riders drift in by twos, dust up to the knees. This is the workhorse of the cattle era. Cookie slides open a wooden drawer. Tin cups chime. A bacon slab winks white fat. And a jar is swaddled like an infant. He lifts the cloth, a living sponge of sourdough size. Don't jostle her, he warns, half joking, half priest. You haul water. He measures beans by the cup. Coffee by the handful, fat by intuition. A Dutch oven swallows biscuits. He shovels coals onto the lid and gives the pot a quarter turn every few minutes, a slow dance for even heat. When the lid comes off, the air is butter and steam. Plates hit palms and talk loosens. You're used to choice. Fruit, yogurt, something green. Here, variety is a liability, predictability is the point. The menu repeats because the miles repeat, because the bodies repeat the same motions until the work is done. Endurance isn't bravado, it's inventory. Grace rings the empty skillet. Cups tilt for a last pour, a bitter scrape from the pot. Cookie wipes the blade on his apron, ties down the drawers, and bars the tailgate. The wagon becomes a rectangle again, ready to rattle. The memory of hot bread lingers, then thins into dust. Bellies full, the trail bends toward town, where the quiet rules are not suggestions. Next, you'll learn how law works when it has to work every day. The main street looks sleepy, a dog collapsed in the shade. A blacksmith's low bell, a cloth sign creaking like a tired door. But law here is an everyday choreography, not a duel at high noon. Merchants stand in their thresholds. Saloon doors fan heat and cigar smoke into the street. A deputy watches nothing in particular, and therefore everything. In a cattle town at midday, trouble rarely rides in with trumpets. It ferments from a drunk, a knife, a grievance. Marshal Farrell taps a weathered notice with 2 fingers. No side. Arms within town limits. His eyes drop to your borrowed belt. Check it with the clerk, he says, not unkindly. You surrender steel for a brass token and a ledger line. At the scale, a teamster argues a weight. Farrell stands between men like a fencer post, speaking low enough that only they hear. No theatrics, just authority. He fishes out a pencil stub, scratches a citation, and hands it over with the same motion he uses to wave a fly away. The scene is boring on purpose. Down the alley, voices rise, the boring fails. A scuffle, a flash of hand, and a man stumbles back, clutching his side. Blood darkens his shirt. The doctor will come, if he's sober, and Farrell will take statements. There's no forensic kit, only testimony and reputation. The truth must be coaxed from witnesses already editing themselves. You came hunting a little excitement. Towns worked hard to prevent it. Surviving the West means obeying dull rules that keep spectacular disasters off the ledger. Quiet is policy. You hand in your belt and step toward the doctor's office. The other half of survival. Inside, medicine will be as fragile as the bodies it serves. The waiting room smells of carbolic and whiskey. A fly taps the window. Someone coughs behind a curtain. The quiet that wouldn't let you sleep now has a scent and a rhythm. Tap. Cough. Hush. Tools hang on pegs like dull silver fish saws, forceps, a bone-handled lancet. Books slump open on a desk. Apothecary drawers promise Latin names and guesswork. It's late afternoon in a small town frontier surgery, where certainty is scarce and time is tired. Mrs. Hamlin sits with a feverish child, whose breath is small and fast. The doctor's hands tremble from fatigue as he primes a lancet. A saucer of lymph waits beside clean cloth. He talks in a steady murmur. Nix presses binds. Behind the curtain, a ranch hand stares at his splintered wrist. 2 slats of rough wood, a winding of cloth, pain like static. He will not ride for weeks, wages stop today. No insurance, no sick leave. The doctor gives him laudanum and a warning about too much. This room is a ledger for bodies. You imagine resilience as attitude. Here it is math. Of germs you can't see, of hours a hand must heal, of fevers that either break or don't. A single infection, a kicked wrist, a bad cut. Anyone can end your usefulness. The fly keeps tapping the glass. You step back into the glare, blinking. Your next miles will depend on wheels, hooves, and luck prefers the prepared. The sun slants hard. Wheels groan. Horses blow like bellows. Out here, distance stretches. 1 mile turns into a wager you settle with sweat and patience. The outbound freight road shivers with ruts. A stage rattles past in a cloud. And at the ford ahead a wagon hesitates. A rider leans from the saddle, eyes scanning dust for the cursive of snake tracks. The windmill's old metronome is far behind. Now the rhythm is leather and iron. Day's end on a freight route means every choice is timed to light and water. Creeks are shallow until they're not. A high cloud can become a storm 2 ridges away. You watch and you listen. Your wagon's lead wheel drops into an unseen washout. Wood shrieks, the axle cracks. No one shouts. A jack slides under the hub. A spare spoke comes from the box. Rawhide lashes. Someone murmurs a prayer. Someone spits for luck. To the south, a lightning strike has stitched a seam of smoke across the grass. Riders wet their fingers and lift them to the wind, calculating a fire's path the way others rid ledgers. A misread, and the plains take everything. You imagine you'll get around to maintenance. The West punishes that verb. Here, you fix it now, or you walk home in the dark. The math of accidents is cruel, but it favors the prepared, the boring, the diligent. The wheel takes weight again. The horses settle. The sun lets go of the land, and the air turns to tin. Night returns, with its own rules. Some written on boards, many enforced by stairs. Time to find a room, and learn what belonging costs after dark. A fiddle leaks from a saloon. Laughter edits itself when you step in. Out here, the room reads you before you order. Boots pause, eyes measure. A barkeep polishes a glass, just long enough to decide your price. It's night in interior spaces, saloons, boarding houses, dance halls, mining camps, where communities enforce their rules through credit, gossip, and posted notices. In daylight you managed miles and water. After dark, you manage faces and favors. At Mrs. Flynn's boarding house, a ledger decides who eats on trust. She flips pages, eyebrows weighing your week. Across the street, a Chinese laundry hangs shirts in perfect rows. By morning, a rock will spider a pane, and no one will have seen a thing. A diner family arrives with woven blankets, patterns like rain. A deputy steps out, hat low. No law book, only a look that says move along. Inside the saloon, a woman in a borrowed dress counts coins for room rent while a patron jokes too loud, and the piano keeps playing. Everyone understands the rules without hearing them. You thought survival was a solo skill. Grit, aim, miles. But after dark, survival is social. Outsiders by race, language, accent, or poverty pay extra, wait longer, or get pushed out. A single insult can close doors for weeks. Emphasize belonging is a currency, exclusion is a tax. The room has finished reading you. Midnight arrives. You slip back to the bed that promised rest, and tally the day. Tomorrow, the ledger begins again. The lantern hisses. You lie back on ticking straw, and count the day's small obediences: sip, mend, yield, plan. The room that wouldn't let you sleep now feels like a ledger closing for the night. You are in the same boarding house, the same narrow bed, only a day older. The rhythm of survival has revealed itself as a chain of unglamorous decisions. Water before coffee, biscuits before bravado, ordinances before opinions, maintenance before miles, courtesy before credit. None of it is cinematic. All of it works. Frontier diaries and memoirs dwell less on gunfights than on weather, chores, debts, and repairs. Much of the legend, larger than life gunmen, perpetual chaos, grew later in dime novels and early film. The facts are quieter than the myth. If you'd chased only the movie moments today, you'd have missed the math. How thirst, heat, wheels, germs, and reputation all bill you in tiny, relentless fees. Boring history isn't dull. It's the discipline that keeps fragile people alive in hard places. You set out your cup for dawn. You fold the borrowed bandana and check the single button you re-sewed at dusk. The marshal's token sits on the washstand. You'll reclaim your belt in the morning with a nod and a thank you. The wagon outside creaks as the night air settles. You finally grow sleepy. Tomorrow we'll ask the same things, in the same order. That's the point. If this calmed you and made the past feel human, stay for the next evening. We'll walk another, ordinary, day and learn why ordinary saved lives. And if you found yourself breathing easier to the metronome of wind and work, bring that rhythm back with you. Quiet isn't the absence of danger. It's the presence of good habits.